Hey, when it comes to sales, you've got to understand the back end process, credit, the paperwork that has to happen, and what's going around in the background so you can properly take care of your customers, right? And one thing you also want to take care of and you want to be nice to is your internal accounting teams, your processors, anybody helping support you in your function. You want to thank them for their efforts, make sure you're communicating with them. If they need something from you, you want to get it back to them right away. So that goes for any sales you're in, right? So we're obviously in logistics, it's important here, but mortgages, insurance, investments, that's very, very important, right? If you're neglecting that, you will lose money or not make as much for sure. So specific to Hometown, right? Account setups, okay? There's documents in the Google Drive that help you through this, but essentially you want to make sure you get credit ran on an account you are about to launch before you move the first load. And then you need to get that credit approval, retain it, and make sure you understand it before you do a lot of freight with them, right? If they're not credit approved, we don't want to be moving freight for them, right? That means they're not going to pay us and we don't want to move their freight. PODs, okay? So when you deliver a load, a screen pops up saying, basically, who should we email for PODs? Delete what's ever in there. It's usually like a no reply email, and copy that dispatcher's email in there that you were working with. They're going to get a reminder daily to upload the PODs, right? We also have a process here that Nicole and Chelsea run that if a carrier has not sent us PODs at a certain point in time, we've got to reach out to the consignee or the delivery site, and we've got to get that POD and track it down ourselves. Third item here, right? Whoever gives you the freight is who we are going to bill, right? If some customer is saying, hey, I need this little move from here to here, and then you got to bill that person at the delivery. That's not how we operate, right? You got to go through credit. We got to talk to these people. We don't just move freight and bill someone else. Whoever gives you the freight is who we are billing and who we have to have credit approved. Some customers that you'll run will require POs on the invoices. And so they usually tell you up front, or you learn that very early in the process. That same screen that pops up when you mark a load delivered will ask you for that PO. Well, that PO number is usually on the load tender you were given. You just need to take that PO number off of that information and put it in that spot for our accounting team there. Tow news. Tow news is a big one, right? So, and really not just tow news, but anything weird. But let's talk about tow news for a second. If you have a tow new, which is basically you had a truck show up and the load wasn't ready, right? So there should be a tow new being paid. Well, one, we need to get in writing from the customer that they approve it, or if they're not replying, we need to at least have an email going to that customer saying, hey, as discussed, our driver showed up and the load wasn't ready. Drivers needs to get paid X. We're going to shoot a bill over for that. If you have any questions or concerns, please let me know, but just want to make sure you had a proper heads up on that, right? So a lot of times they ignore you and don't reply to you because they don't want to pay you. Well, we're not going to wait weeks and weeks and weeks for them to reply to something. We're just going to tell them very politely what we're doing there. We're charging this, and please let me know if you have issues. And that email string should be saved as a document and uploaded into that order in the TMS system. From there, once you complete those steps, you will want to mark that tow new as invoice audit, not delivered. So when you go do a status change, pick invoice at audit after you have all that in there and the right dollar amounts in the load. Last thing kind of on that same topic is supporting documents, right? One, we need supporting emails. It's okay if you're retaining those in your email boxes, in your folders, basically saying what we're charging for a load. But what we really need to do a good job is if something weird happens, maybe we had to switch where we're going, or they added a stop or something non-typical in your load, You want to document that in email, document the additional charges or the game plan or whatever has to occur in that in an email. Hopefully get their confirmation back on that. And you need to do the same thing. You need to save that email as a document, basically that's explaining what happened, and you need to save that into your load as an additional billing doc. It basically proves everything we did and that it was approved and why we're charging that. So those are some big accounting items, probably the top 5 or 6 that you just don't experience every day. So we get why you might not understand right away. But hopefully watching this video, Nicole's doing a handout to go along with it. So that helps you remember some of these items. We also have a laminated billing sheet that everybody gets as well with some other tips and things to remember. And Nicole sends out a weekly email. But at the end of the day, ideally you know these items, or you sit next to 4 or 5 guys or girls that know them, and so you need to ask, right? So the best thing to do is anything non-standard, you want to make sure you're asking and figuring that out. So one last piece on account setup, we need to get who we are billing, where we should send the invoices, right? So your customer, just ask them, hey, just need the name and contact and email and phone number of where we need to send these bills to, so we're not bugging you. They'll send it over, you're gonna fill out that sheet that Nicole has for you, and that completes the account setup process.